Hello, so what we're going to do is take a quick look at how to DCC fit a non-DCC ready locomotive. In particular, this one is a Hornby Jinty 3F, I believe is the class name. And if we just remove the chassis, which I've already done at the back, there's a little press stud, the top comes off, and there you've got your wiring. Now, the thing to remember with these old Hornby units is the chassis itself is part of the pickup process. So you've got the green wire there, which takes power from these wheels here and feeds power to the right side of the motor, and then the black wire feeds power to the left side of the motor from the chassis. You can see just where it joins there. Now, what most people's first reaction would be is to take this, rip all the wiring out, fit your decoder, plop it on your layout. What happens if it doesn't work? Is it the loco? Is it the chip? You don't know. So, a good thing to have handy is a 9-volt battery. You just gently put it to the wheels, and if it spins round, you know it works. So you know that the motor of the pickups are all working fine, and then you can progress to the next stage. So the things you're going to need is, first of all, you'll need your loco, a decoder. Now this is just a cheap eBay item, but they work well enough. Now you'll notice that this has got a little 8-pin plug on the end of it. We will not be needing this because we are just going to do a basic install. So first things first, you'll need to do is take your favourite cutters, very gently take the ends off. There you are. Now there's many wires on here. We won't need all of these, and do remember to be careful because these decoders are very finely soldered, so they're not the strongest in the world, so don't go yanking on them. But you'll need 4 wires: the orange, the black, the grey and the red. The rest of these are for our install anyway, but we don't need them. So if you're not going to install sound or anything, you can get rid of the rest of these wires, or you can just tape them up out of the way. So what we're going to do is prepare the decoder by stripping just a little bit of the wires back so we can bear just a little bit of the copper inside. I use wire cutters, but you can use whatever method you want really. I just think these work a little bit better. So start with the black, just a little bit at the end there, let the tool do the work, just twist a little bit, there you are. So we're now going to do that with the rest of the wires, and we'll convene when that's taken care of. We've taken back the wires on the ends of the decoder there. We've also trimmed the other wires out of the way. Now we will need to insulate this because the ends of the wires have a little bit of copper sticking out, and we don't want that touching the chassis because that'll create a short circuit, so we need to insulate that good and proper. So the soldering iron's now warming up. We've got our solder and we've got a little bit of flux. Now the key to good soldering is decent flux and plenty of it, not plenty of solder. If you use too much solder, you make a mess of things. Let's look at where we're going to install the chip. So you've got 4 colours: red, black, orange and grey. There's a little point that goes red and black to the track, orange and grey the other way, meaning to the motor terminals. So if we look at the locomotive here, we need to interrupt the power feed, so get it out of the way there. So I've previously worked on this loco, so if I separate that little bit there, I can join the corresponding wires to that part and to this pin. Now this little pin here wasn't insulated before. I've had to put some insulating tape on that because that was the original point to which the power from the left wheel came from the chassis to the motor. So you can see there, look, I've just soldered the power feed directly the motor terminal. So I need to put the corresponding wire there from the chassis to that. So let's get the soldering iron started up and let's begin. A good thing to do is take some of your flux on a little brush. And again, don't be shy with this stuff. The ends of your wires, we're just going to give them a good brushing. Get plenty of flux on there. That's it. Plenty of flux on there. What we're going to do is we're going to put some solder on the soldering iron and then just pre-tin these wires, which will make the whole process much easier. We're also going to put flux on the motor terminal. I should have said the join there because we'll need to solder this later on, so I'll put some on there. Soldering iron is nice and warm. Take your solder. All we're going to do before we go any further is I always going to give you a soldering iron just a little dip in the flux, and that just cleans the iron off. You can as well have a little sponge with water on it, which also helps with keeping the end clean. It just gets all the old crap out of it. Okay. Then you take your solder and just gently melt a little bit of it. So it's helping it melt on there. Look. That should be enough. So we're going to do red, black, orange and grey in that order. Take your red terminal there and just hold right to it, and that's it. And now for the grey one. And also as well, you'll notice that I've shortened the wires. Obviously you don't want great lengths of copper or silver or nickel flying around inside a closed space, so the next part of the operation, you make a little where to interrupt the feed. So this is the trap feed for the right side, that's for the left side. So this will be red. So what we don't need anymore is this bit here. So I'm just going to make a little snip. Just remove that little green wire going from there to the red wire, no longer needed. I'm also now going to remove the red wire because again that's just the original architecture. It's no longer required because we're going to solder straight to these terminals. I probably recommend using a smaller set of snips. I think I've used the biggest set of snips I've got, which doesn't make things easy, but there we are. Feed here as well, and just snip it off there because we don't need you anymore. And again, just there. We don't need that. Okay. We've got a little bit of soldering on already, but we'll just put a bit more on, just a little bit. That's it. Okay. That's already pre-tinned with plenty of solder, as you can see there, and plenty of flux. So because that's red or green, we'll put the red side to there. Oh, I apologise if this isn't. Now hold the wire to the other wire, just above the solder patch. Apply the solder for a few seconds. Hold the wire in place. That should be good to go. Now the green wire's come off a little bit there, but that's okay. We can just re-solder that back on there. Same process. Apply a little bit of pressure, a little bit of heat. Leave it. Bit of blowing. And that's on there nicely now. We've now got the red wire to the track feed. Now we're going to do the black track feed next, so the black wire. I'm going to put it to there. We've still got plenty of solder on there, and there's still some on there as well, so again, make sure you hold that wire in place just till it sets. So we've now got red and black to the track. Now orange and grey the other way. Now it doesn't really matter which way you do this, all it's going to do is affect which way the train goes when you apply power. So if when you find that you've wired things up and you make the train go forward and it goes backwards, that just means that you need to swap the wire around again. Either swap the black and the red or the grey and the orange around. Put a bit more flux on there. Got plenty of solder on there, just a dab more. Okay. make this side the orange side. So same again, just being careful not to catch any of the wires. Hold it till it sets. There we are. Okay, jolly good. And last but not least, so we're going to put the grey wire onto the other terminal. A bit more solder on there. And be careful not to get solder inside the motor. That's it. That's the hard part over. So be sure once you've finished soldering that you unplug your soldering iron. Don't leave it anywhere. It's going to catch fire or melt something. So you now see we've got red and black wires to the track, orange and grey wires the other way, i.e. to the motor terminal. So the next stage now, before we put the body back on, get this over to the layout and give it a test. Okay, finally, it's on the layout, all wired up. It hasn't exploded this time. I'll talk about that in a minute. So here we go, give it a test. Yep. That's all good. Right then. So, this is the added extra. Every day is a school day, boys and girls. Everything was wired up properly, and if I'm brutally honest with you, when I put it on the layout at first, it wasn't working properly. That cut you just seen then was the second cut. What happened is this is a really old locomotive. If you look here, you see there's a gap in the back wheel there. You can just see that gap on the sips. It won't point it to you. Yeah. Now that hole, for some reason, when Hornby designed this thing, they put a little block of metal in it like that, which is magnetised, like so. And what was happening is, as it sat in there, and obviously after many moons and years of not being moved, it actually slid across. And because the chassis is metal, it sent the power from the left rail to the right rail, causing a huge short circuit, which manifested itself with the loco doing this, just going not responding to any input whatsoever. So after turning on and off a few times and making sure the wiring was done right, eventually it sparked, which scared the shit, to be brutally honest with you. So I went back to the drawing board and I noticed this magnet, and I noticed it was moving, and then it just clicked. There we go. Every day is a school day, boys and girls. Be careful and have fun.